One of the worst programs in the history of television is coming back on CNN. Crossfire, which ran on CNN from 1982 to 2005, which was basically a partisan hack on the left versus a partisan hack on the right, screaming at each other, which then led to all the bipolar dysfunction we have in politics. Now is coming back to CNN. And before we get into it, let's watch. This is just a couple days before they canceled the original Crossfire. Jon Stewart went on there and laid in to the hosts.
In many ways, it's funny, you know, and I made a special effort to come on the show today because I have privately, amongst my friends, and also in occasional newspapers and television shows, mentioned this show as being bad. And I wanted to, I felt that that wasn't fair, and I should come here and tell you that I don't, it's not so much that it's bad as it's hurting America. How old are you?
35.
And you wear a bow tie.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So when you have people on for just knee-jerk, reactionary talk.
Wait, I thought you were going to be funny. Come on, be funny.
No, I'm not going to be your monkey. Go ahead. I watch your show every day, and it kills me.
I can tell you what.
It's so painful to watch. You know, because we need what you do. This is such a great opportunity you have here to actually get politicians off of their marketing and strategy. Yeah, it's someone who watches your show and cannot take it anymore.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure Crossfire was canceled the next day. They ended up running it for a few more weeks. But Jon Stewart hit that. That was, you know, about 7-8 years ago, and everything that's wrong with our political system is summed up in that. CNN's ratings are tanking, and then the new guy, Jeff Zucker, comes in and he's bringing back just the worst kind of awful, with Newt Gingrich and S.E. Cupp hacking on one side, and Van Jones and Stephanie Cutter on the other side.
First of all, the fact that Newt is leaving Fox,
yeah,
I feel like CNN is like that dorky AV club table in high school. You know what I mean? And then the bully from the Fox table is like, he's gonna come and sit at our table. You guys, let's impress him. Let's do it. Come on, he's gonna come over. And then here comes Newt, who he doesn't really think you're his friends.
Right.
But for some reason he's leaving Fox, so that's suspicious. Why? Why all of a sudden is Newt Gingrich leaving to go to CNN to start Crossfire again?
And the funny thing is, with Newt particularly, this is going to be the most tepid endorsement of Newt ever, but they made him out to be the biggest joke when he was running. All the networks did.
Yeah.
So now to bring him on as if he's some genius, whether people like him or not, is kind of disingenuous by CNN. But what do you think about this? I mean, the reason I'm doing this show is because I want to show relatively smart people, yourselves included, talking about issues, not just screaming with prepackaged talking points, and it's the last thing we need.
It's nice to see CNN reaching out in a time when Paula Deen is losing all her shows and her empire because of her racism. They're rewarding certain other racists, like Newt Gingrich, who's a blatant racist. And also NBC is still rewarding Donald Trump with a racist show. So Newt Gingrich, if you're telling me that calling the President Barack Obama the food stamp president is not race baiting in the worst form, then you're dumb.
Right.
That's why we're smarter than you.
It's code words.
You're a liar. You're
and it's
disingenuous.
disrespectful for people who collect real stamps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, think about all those people. There's like dozens of them.
Yeah, those people have to be really upset.
You know, he also accused Juan Williams of not knowing what work was about. Juan Williams, a guy who at the time held 3 jobs.
Yeah.
So that's just, again, but Juan Williams, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of those guys who goes over to the bully table, and now you got it coming. Yeah, when you ask Newt Gingrich to stop race baiting in a room full of Fox viewers, they're going to boo you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
That's a good point about Juan Williams, because he did the reverse of what you're saying. He went to the cooler table and said, you know, I'm not one of you guys on Fox News, and here I am, and I'm going to fight. But do you guys think that part of this has to do with the human brain? I'm starting to think this.
Yes.
That we have 2 halves of the human brain. We don't have 7 halves, because that would be mathematically impossible. And our brains are constantly fighting with each other. And because of that, everything is now man versus woman, black versus white, right versus left. So that by putting up a show like this, they're just feeding into something that's just wired into us, this constant battle of two.
Can I say what it's wired into, if I mind to step on you a second?
Don't ever touch me again.
I'm sorry. You're so pretty.
Man versus woman. Yeah, there
Can
you
I
go.
fill out paperwork?
We'll get you.
I didn't mean
thank
it.
you.
I didn't
Thank
mean
you.
it.
Do it.
Anyway, but I think of what it does. It feeds into this notion that everything's equal on both sides, this false equivalency.
Yeah.
Oh, there's blowhards on the right, there's blowhards on the left. When in reality, one party, we're only left with two parties really in America, one party has gone batshit crazy over the last 20 years to the point where it's unrecognizable, yet they still keep reporting it as if it's the same equal to, even the left has shifted to the right. So the mainstream Republicans are upset that their party has shifted to the right, and Democrats are upset that their party has shifted to the right. Yet the mainstream news media reports it as if it's exactly the same as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think you are right about the two sides. I feel like everything now politically is push-pull. You know what I mean? So if we push this way, they want to pull the exact same. So even if you know, like, have you ever been water skiing? You know water skiing? Okay.
Yes.
So if you feel kind of like iffy on the water, right? You pulled yourself to keep yourself up. What is automatically going to happen, just the physics of it, is that you're going to pull the same distance and you're going to fall off your water skis. That's what's happening all the time politically now, is people get so upset about nothing because they feel they have to be. If someone is passionate about something like, I don't know, let's say equality for gays, right? A civil equality we should all have. People who really could kind of care less or like, whatever, doesn't bother me. But because they feel that they're Republicans and all of a sudden, you know, my party is being, you know, somehow like we're being attacked, they pull even further.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When really you're not that angry about it. It doesn't really affect your everyday life.
Yeah.
Why do you really care so much? But they feel that push-pull. And so you're right, it's always these two halves that now they're equally upset about something that they're not really upset about.
And you know what? It's funny because Bill Maher said what both of you were saying. He's been saying this for years, that the right keeps going so far right, and the left, because they're such a bunch of dogs, basically, they just follow along with the leash. So what we used to think was the middle is actually much further right than it used to be.
It really got accelerated during Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's triangulation was, I'll take all these Republican issues and I'll make them Democrat issues now. And now you're not a Democrat anymore.
Yeah.
And so now it's the shift to the right. And again, it's just being reported as if it's still the two different, a liberal and a conservative party, when we have a conservative and a more conservative party.
Yeah. So with all this drivel, almost every week on the show we've talked about cable news and how it's doing such a disservice. And Jimmy, you have a show on the Young Turks Network as well. And I think this is one of the few places where, and of course it's online, which is why we're free and we can speak our minds and all that stuff. But is the mainstream media, is it really just dead between, we know, MSNBC now is as bad one way as Fox is the other, and if CNN is just going to give us the screaming, is it really just over? And that may really just be good for people like us who are creating content on the internet.
I think news should go back to 1 hour a night.
That's it. One show, 1 hour.
I think it just should go back. Here's what happened today.
Yeah.
And that's it. The 24-hour news cycle has destroyed everything.
Yeah.
And it's not really a 24-hour news cycle. It's like every 3 hours it just regurgitates itself.
Totally. Everyone says 24 hours, but actually they're just saying the same thing on repeat 8 times, 3 hours a day.
If you're a comic and you've ever been stuck in an airport because your flight's delayed for 4 hours watching the news in the airport, you know, we're just going right back to what we were 2 hours ago.
Yes.
And I really feel like if we just try, let's just try it. I say the big news corp, just try it.
Yeah, I agree.
Just a week. Let's do a little experiment
Yeah.
where we just report the news like we used to. When I was a kid, my parents watched the news at night. It was an hour long, and that was it. Lights out, we're going to bed.
So last thought on this. Do you think part of the problem also is that because of these freaking trials that there's nothing more purely drivelous than to put a trial on for 8 hours a day, to watch the minutia of what goes on in a court. So they've been doing that now for weeks, and of course we're going to have weeks more now of analysis.
Yeah.
But remember, wasn't North Korea going to nuke us a month ago? Wasn't there going to be, there were chemical weapons in Syria? Egypt was having a revolution, I think, a few days ago. Does anyone know about any of that? Like, no, I guess all that stuff just worked out,
But
right?
the sponsors want you to talk about the trial.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Are these sponsors just
They're the
morons?
ones
That's the
that-
problem with the 24-hour news cycles. They only take 1 hour and devote it to news, and the other 23 is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they actually took that time and did investigative reports and documentaries and things, that would be great. But of course they're not going to do that. It's drivel, because it's the People magazine mentality of television right now. Look at CNN; it's a joke.
Yeah.
Jeff Stucker, his big idea is to bring back the shittiest show they ever fucking had.
Yeah.
That's his idea. Have you watched Erin Burnett? My babysitter has more depth than her.
Although
It's unbelievable how
Do you have a child?
thinner than a pin. No, that's how thin.
Why do you have a
That was an
babysitter
unnecessary shot at your
coming to
babysitter.
your
Yeah.
house?
It's unbelievable what's happened to the main. And you know what? You talk about MSNBC kind of being the mirror of Fox. They're not. MSNBC still informs you, whereas Fox actively misinforms their viewers on purpose. They lie to their own viewers on purpose. They've been caught many times. It happens all the time now. It's not even worth pointing it out. But what MSNBC does is too often the mainstream, whatever the opinion is, they're against Edward Snowden at MSNBC.
Yeah.
They're for drone strikes.
Yeah.
They're down, so that's where their problem. The problem is that MSNBC has is the same problem our political system has, is it's one party.
Right. You just have to latch on to the administration because that's their guy.
Yes.
And that's it.
Do you
All right,
think-
last thought.
Do you think Crossfire's coming back because we have an election in a couple of years?
I think it's coming back purely because of the
Out of
state
ideas.
of its.
Really?
They're out of.
Out
I
of
think they're
ideas.
afraid. I think truly is that the networks are afraid to put on people that are intellectually honest. I think that's the truth. You can watch Hannity say the same things that he hated about the NSA or that he loved when Bush was president. And then there's a great video on YouTube. We played it on the show. And then now he hates it because it's Obama. And I think they're afraid of just showing honest people having, or at least some degree of intellectual honesty. It has nothing to do with television.